Welcome to Count Stackula on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning into another one of my videos. Today, we are talking with ChatGPT about the psychology of money. Let's dive in. All right, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. I've been playing around with ChatGPT a lot lately, and one of the things that I enjoy doing actually is summarizing a lot of books that are on my reading list because I don't have the time to sit down and read them all. So today, we are going to look at The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but anyway, it is a fascinating exploration of the intersection between money and psychology with a deep understanding of both finance and human behavior. Housel takes readers on a journey through the world of money, showing how our emotions and biases can affect our financial decisions. This book is a must-read for anyone who wants to gain a deeper understanding of their own relationship with money and how to make better financial decisions. All right, so let's take a look at each chapter individually and talk about them a little bit. Chapter 1, No One's Crazy. In this chapter, Housel argues that everyone's relationship with money is shaped by their own unique experiences and circumstances, and that there is no right or wrong way to approach personal finance. He uses the example of a man who refuses to buy a new car despite having the money to do so because he feels guilty about his wealth. Housel argues that this man's behavior is not crazy, but rather a reflection of his own values and beliefs. All right, so in the first chapter, No One's Crazy. What can we talk about this? It's basically the unique experiences that each individual has, bases how we express ourselves with money. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, I guess. And while that example about a guy who doesn't buy a new car despite having the money doesn't really resonate with everyone, I think you could basically pull any example you wanted to describe this, well, any individual. But let's read on. In Chapter 2, Luck and Risk, Housel explores the role of luck and risk in our financial lives in this chapter. He argues that while luck plays a significant role in our success or failure, it is often overlooked or dismissed in discussions about personal finance. He uses the example of Warren Buffett, who acknowledges the role of luck in his success despite being widely regarded as a genius investor. Housel also explores the concept of risk, showing how our perception of risk can be influenced by our emotions and biases. So, in the second chapter, Luck and Risk, basically the author is saying that not many people actually put enough attention or emphasis on the variable that is luck. And I would assume that he's probably also saying the same more or less about risk, that these are two maybe not necessarily always quantifiable things, but they definitely play a huge role in the one's success or failure with money. Moving on to Chapter 3, Never Enough. Housel examines the concept of enough in this chapter, arguing that our desires for wealth and possessions are often insatiable. He uses the example of John D. Rockefeller, who was the richest man in the world at the time of his death, but still wanted more. Housel argues that our desires for more are often driven by social comparison, and that it is important to recognize when we have enough and to focus on other aspects of our lives. Right, so this definitely goes hand in hand with the psychology aspect of when is it enough. We know that, for example, like hoarding, which is ironically the term that was used to be used for stackers before the term stacking came along, which is a little bit more favorable than the term hoarding. But with hoarding, we have kind of almost a derogatory connotation associated with the term, because it is perceived to be unhealthy, because most hoarders typically stack to the rafters with whatever collectible or not non-collectible that they have chosen to hoard. And if you've ever watched any of those shows like Clean House from back in the day, where they go into these hoarders' dens and sell everything and renovate their homes, it'd be interesting to see whether or not, where these people are 10 years later. But I guarantee you that the majority of them are still victims of their own inability to control their desire for hoarding. And that goes hand in hand with it never being enough. All right, moving on. Chapter 4, The Seduction of Pessimism. In this chapter, Housel examines the allure of pessimism in our financial lives. He argues that we are often drawn to pessimistic narratives about the future of the economy or the stock market, even though these narratives are often wrong. Housel shows how pessimism can be dangerous for investors, as it can lead to irrational decisions and missed opportunities. Well, I think this is, definitely hitting the nail on the head when it comes to social media today, because social media is really just a evolution of the news. And for a long time, we've already known that bad news sells. And so what we get is a lot of bad news in our social media feeds. And YouTube is definitely one of those where people are capitalizing on a lot of the pessimistic news that's out there. So the more dramatic your thumbnail, the more outlandish and clickbaity title you have, the more views you're going to get. But often it's not true. It's not even close to being true. But like sex, it sells. So moving on to chapter 5. When You'll Believe Anything. Housel explores the concept of storytelling in this chapter, showing how our desire for a good story can lead us to believe in financial myths and misconceptions. He uses the example of a man who invests in a company because of a compelling story he heard. Even though the company's financials were weak, Housel argues that it is important to be skeptical of stories and to focus on the facts when making financial decisions. Right. Of course, people only buy from snake oil salesmen because they know how to tell a story. They are smooth talkers, right? Old-timey snake oil salesmen, they've got a real good rap, and they know how to make a sale. And they could sell anything to anybody, anytime. So you can't obviously trust everything you hear, and focus on the facts whenever making financial decisions, especially. Don't trust those emotions. Look at the facts. All right, chapter 6, Confounding Compounding. Housel delves into the power of compound interest in this chapter, showing how small decisions can have a big impact on our financial outcomes over time. He uses the example of a woman who starts saving for retirement at age 25 compared to a woman who starts at age 35. Housel shows that the early saver will end up with significantly more money despite having saved less overall. Yes, and that is a fascinating fact of compound interest. It definitely does work, and very few people take advantage of it simply because they don't program it into their lives. And myself included, we all try to add to that 401k plan or that Roth IRA and max out the amount every year, but many of us actually forget and fail to do so. when you do actually implement a good compound interest strategy into your retirement plan, boy, yeah, it will pay dividends later in life. All right, let's move on to chapter 7, getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Housel examines the difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy in this chapter. He shows how many people focus on getting rich quickly rather than building sustainable wealth over time. Housel argues that the key to staying wealthy is to focus on behaviors and habits rather than specific investments or strategies. This is fascinating because basically it's kind of like that health is wealth thing, or rather creating healthy, wealthy habits are better than the one-time quick fix that we get when, if you win the lottery, for example. Too many people focus on getting rich quickly rather than building sustainable wealth over time. That's the key to getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. All right, moving on to the last chapter, Tails You Win. In this chapter, the author explores the concept of fat tail. Events in this chapter showing how rare but significant events can have a big impact on our financial lives. He uses the example of the 2008 financial crisis, which had a major impact on many people's financial well-being. He argues that it is important to be prepared for rare events, even though they may seem unlikely. Yeah, you probably heard it on YouTube before that many people are, millionaires are made in crisis times. And, if you know how to take advantage of the situation and place your bets at the appropriate time, those fat tail events can really be game changers in your life. So, in conclusion, The Psychology of Money is a comprehensive and insightful exploration of the intersection between money and psychology. Housel's main theme throughout the book is that our financial decisions are often driven by emotions and biases, and that is important to recognize and understand these influences in order to make better decisions. His examples of pessimism, storytelling, compound interest, getting wealthy versus staying wealthy, and rare events offer compelling evidence of this theme. Overall, The Psychology of Money is a must-read for anyone who wants to gain a deeper understanding of their relationship with money and how to make better financial decisions. All right, so what are your thoughts when it comes to The Psychology of Money? Is it relevant to stacking? And how would you implement and apply some of these techniques into your life now that you know them? All right. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, I do create these 3D printed boxes. This one is for the 10-ounce Queen's Beast coins. This holds 5. And I've done a number of other cool boxes that are available in the description down below on eBay that you can purchase. I also do some cool custom work. So if there's any particular 3D printing needs that you have, go ahead and hit me up down in the comments. Let me know and we can work on something. I'd be happy to help serve you. All right. Thanks for watching. This is Count Stackula. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.